And you are back, and we thank you again for joining us. Darren Jaime here with you. You are watching The Bronx, Your Voice, Your Vote 2008, the special that will answer all of your election questions. We're once again joined by our political contributors, Miguel Perez, Bob Nolan, and Marriah Star. With our economy in such bad shape, it is no surprise that the job loss rate is still quickly climbing. And here's some of your concerns right here in the borough of the Bronx.
Jobs, that's what I'm concerned about, and the small business owner, because I do have a small business and I want to know what they're going to do with it.
And are you nervous about losing your own job?
I'm currently not working right now. I'm actually looking for a job, and it's rather difficult.
And do you think it's harder now than it has been before in a better economy?
Yes, it's more difficult now than before.
I got 4 kids, and I'm very worried about it.
Are you worried about losing your own job?
Yeah, absolutely.
And what will you do if you lose your job?
Well, I didn't have any education in the United States, so I would say I had to worry about it.
And those are just some of the few views about the economy, job loss, and particularly right here in the borough of the Bronx. I guess since I got Bob Nolan, budget director here for the borough of the Bronx, you could speak to this because the Bronx has traditionally suffered. We knew in New York City alone, it had the highest unemployment rate. We knew that gap has closed somewhat. With the economy the way that it is right now, do you foresee the unemployment crisis getting better or worse here in the borough of the Bronx?
Well, it's going to get worse, but we remember back in 2003 it was double digits, it was more than 10%. The unemployment rate now is around 7%, but I expect it will get worse. As I mentioned earlier, though, the 3 major areas where Bronxites are working are in the healthcare sector, education, as well in retail. Healthcare will have cuts from the state, and people will lose jobs as a result of that. Education, even though there have been agreements on the state level that they're not going to try to cut education aid, you can't possibly make up for the deficit the state has unless you cut education aid. So it will happen. And I'm very concerned about the retailers with Christmas coming up and the job losses there. Most Americans work in small businesses, and they have a disproportionate number of people who hire, Bronxites who are right around the corner from where they work.
Mm-hmm. Let's elevate this back up to the national level. As we know, both candidates are fighting for their quote-unquote economy package. We know what McCain's economic package is. We know what Obama's economic package is. Interesting comment that was made in the Wall Street Journal today when it talks about even if either one gets in office, they still have some in-house dealings to deal with. For instance, if you're Barack Obama, you've got some liberal Democrats, you've got the pragmatic Democrats, you've got the conservative Democrats, and then on the other side for John McCain, you've got those, you've got those liberal Republicans, you got the pragmatics, and then you have the conservatives. So talk about the fight just in your own party to appease all 3 groups that are there and are vying for their particular issue to come to the forefront. How are you going to be able to address that and then at the same time fix the economy?
Well, the candidate that is just going to lose, it's the candidate that didn't bring all those people together before he won. That's what's happening to McCain. He hasn't been able to bring the right-wing extremists that support him, the so-called middle ground Republicans and the independents. He hasn't been able to bring all those people together, and that's why he's weak in the polls right now.
Well, Obama's challenge, his party is unified right now, and that is likely why he will win on election day. After that, he has to worry about 2 major things. If we're going to talk about healthcare and education, those are 2 major parts of the economy. He has to worry about the teachers' unions. Those are a big part of the educational infrastructure. And he has to worry about the insurance companies for healthcare. Those are going to be major resistors to any change. So he's going to face giant resistance, especially from states like Delaware, where Joe Biden is from, because that's where a lot of major insurance and credit card companies are based. So you're going to be looking at a Democratic Party that faces a victory with internal fighting that lasts probably the next couple of years.
I was flying through the airport, and the TSA agent stopped me. He said, "Listen, on your show, ask your analysts this." They said, "We have to deal with the rescue plan. America has to deal with this rescue plan that is rescuing, and it's basically rescue banks. Why can't the presidents talk about a rescue plan for us? And where is the rescue plan for us? You've rescued the banks. Is anyone really speaking to a rescue plan for the people?"
Listen, what they need to be speaking about is giving us confidence. It's all mental. It's all about consumer confidence, the ability of people, hey, you can do this. The problem is that Congress has spent several months, the president has spent several months telling us all how bad things are, how terrible things are, and how we should not spend any money. And this is the worst advice they can give people, because if we don't spend them, myself, I have a couple of things I want to buy right now. I'm not buying anything, because I don't know if I'm going to have a job next week. So, and everybody's feeling the same way. Even if you have a little money and you want to buy something, you're holding back, and you're holding back the economy.
There are leading economic indicators in every economy. There are housing stars, there's retail spending. We just got a report today showing that retail spending has dropped dramatically for the first time since '91. This is in the last Bush recession, if you will. And as a result, yes, people are spending less. In fact, the credit card bill is going to start coming due, and they're going to start defaulting. And the credit card industry expects about $80 billion in losses just from that alone. But this may not be a bad thing, because we've had too much credit. We need to get back to fundamentals, back to basics. And this is what people need to understand. You have to start saving, start investing, stop spending as if there's no tomorrow. Start focusing on real jobs.
Because of the federal government action of several weeks ago, the bailout package, monies are now available. They're in banks, and they're encouraging people to go and get mortgage loans, because the money is there and it's available. There's also money that's available for people to take out a loan if they own a restaurant, and they need to be able to have that money to buy food, or to be able to have that money if they have an auto dealership, and to be able to buy additional cars. Right now you have, though, many of the car dealers that can't get those cars off the market. So they need to reduce their prices. At the same time, they need to be able to provide loans for Bronxites so they can buy those cars and then pay back over a period of time.
I think you spoke about confidence in government. And I think one of the things that you talked about, Marriah, was I think the fact that government has now told America, basically, listen, hold back the money, stop your spending, this and that, this and that. But then you have Americans who come back on the other side, and there's this little biblical principle: you can't run God's house unless you're able to run your own house well. Now you've got these people who turn around and say, listen, you can't run your house. Why are you going to tell us how to run our house? Do you think that what is going to need to be done in the area of restoring that confidence among people, so that way people feel like that house is being well taken care of?
Well, the issue here is restoring what we call old-fashioned Protestant virtues: thrift, industry, savings. It's common sense when you look at it. What happened over the past roughly 30 years is Reagan came along and said, we have to start spending, we have to build a consumer economy, and therefore we had credit, we had debt. We have seen the collapse of that paradigm, that model. That's what Obama keeps talking about. The Reagan model has died. We need now to return to basics and show the American people, yes, if you're going to keep your house in order as a middle-class person, the federal government needs to do the same thing. Balanced budgets. Balanced budget won't be around for another few years, because we'll be spending a lot with the government, but that needs to be a factor. When we finish this crisis, we need to start thinking about fiscal discipline, fiscal sanity.
Where does John McCain get points on the economy at?
Very few places right now. McCain, and frankly, I have to say the same thing about Obama. Neither one of them has convinced me that they have the magic formula. The whole thing about Obama, for example, whether he's really going to make small businesses, and we're worried in the Bronx about the retailers. Well, what about if he forces them to pay medical health insurance for their employees? That'll help the businesses. So so there are good things about each of their plans, but there are terrible things about each of their plans as well. And so there are, when you look at them, the specifics, you got to go, oh my God, this is great. Oh, but this about the same candidate is terrible. And how could he do this? So, we're all going through this whole process as to what benefits me, what benefits my businesses, which one of the two fits in better for my life.
All right, got to take a quick break. I know you want to get in there, Bob. We're going to come back to you. But after we take a look at these Bronxites, we'll begin to sound off about the Iraq War. All this and much more coming up, but now we want to take a look at some of the candidates who are running for the New York State Assembly. There you see them on the screen: the Democratic, the Republican, the Conservative, and the Working Families. In the Democratic, Peter Rivera; Republican, Charles Serrano; Conservative, Charles Serrano; and Working Families, Peter and Rivera.